Hey, comics fam, I want to tell you about
Commander.
what the fuck. Not sure what happened there. Weird. Anyway, for those of us of my vintage, the theme song from the G.I. Joe movie was part of the soundtrack of our childhoods, and the Robert Kirkman and Skybound's relaunch of the Energon Universe that includes G.I. Joe has been a welcome injection of fresh air, bringing in some back to the fold and initiating a new wave of younger readers who are hungry for more and invested into the medium. Meanwhile, the classic G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero run has continued to churn, creating one of the longest runs in comics history, first through Marvel and today with Image. I think they're on issue 328 in May or something like that. It's crazy. Larry Hama deserves some flowers for what he's done and continues to do here. Last year, we were treated to a return of the Sssilent Missions concept started way back in issue 21, which dropped in 1983, and also happens to be the first appearance of Storm Shadow. I loved those releases last year and was excited to see that Cobra was getting their own treatment this year with a series of 5 one-shots, the Sssilent Missions, featuring Baroness, the Crimson Guard, Zartan, Copperhead, and a favorite of mine, Firefly. Skybound was kind enough to send over an advanced sneak peek of all 5, and I've been on the whole really happy with them as a salvo, each having their own singular and non-overlapping genre takes from a diverse group of unique creative teams. So let's dive into them together. First up is Baroness from Joelle Jones and Declan Shalvey. It's the Baroness, right? So it would be ultimately a failure without a little bit of sexy in the mix. And there's a Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibe to it that works well, creating a cheeky bit of conflict with Destro, who we know will play a role from the solicits. With the theater acting as the backdrop to the story, the silent aspect translates really well, and Joelle's art stands apart from the rest of the series. Not that the others don't deliver, but it is clearly the most anomalous voice of the 5, making it all the more memorable, which is ultimately what you want with a one-shot, and this one delivers with a nice balance of pacing that bounces back and forth between closer combat action and quieter character moments, often on a single page. As someone who is ultimately on the Baroness as a character, I was happy with this one. Next up is the Crimson Guard from Gabriel Hardman and Matt Hollingsworth. My surprise favorite of the 5. I gotta admit, I had no idea where a basic grunt story was going to go, and that's likely why it works so well, as you have to go into it without a distinct character blueprint in mind. A blank slate, if you will, what all he's got to do is protect Cobra Commander from an all-out G.I. Joe assault. No easy task, right? Best described genre-wise as a chase
Me!
Our perpetually unlucky but dutiful guard manages to find some quiet, restful moments amidst all the mayhem, in which Hardman delightfully humanizes the character, reminding you that an army is comprised of individuals. An unexpected but memorable take, translated with a bit of visual costume trickery that I will not go into here because no spoilers.
Spoiler!
Hollingsworth's art is high contrast grime, accentuating and complementing the in-the-trenches approach to the story. A creative team firing on all cylinders to create a quick but successful execution. Our master of disguise, Zartan, steals the show with his one-shot from Pat Olaf and Tom DeFalco. This is the strongest character portrayal of the whole lot, really leaning into his chameleon-like abilities, and they zoom in on an espionage angle rife with hijinks and humor. It's fairly pedestrian artistically with blocky panel layouts without enough contrast that I wish they had taken a little more in terms of a risk with. But don't let that scare you away, though, because the laughs alone are worth it as Zartan channels his inner Chaos Goblin ratcheted up to 11.
Goblins.
Making for a fun and diversionary read overall. From the creative minds of Howard Porter and Romulo Fajardo, Copperhead is the biggest swing of the grouping and comes off somewhere between Swamp People Fast and the Furious meets Twisted Metal. If Zartan was playing it safe visually, this one took all the risks. They might have tried to pack in too much, honestly, because my eyes were having a bit of trouble and getting a little bit lost trying to take in all the high visual density of Fajardo's style. What would make for an incredible video game makes for a weird comic book, as I felt like I drank way too many Red Bulls and was coming down off of a sugar and caffeine rush after turning the last page.
Kiss me wings!
In terms of establishing a character snapshot, there's not much to take in aside from he's an adrenaline junkie, and it was just too unhinged for me, but if you're in the mood for a comics carnival directed by Rob Zombie, this is the one for you. Taking on one of the most reclusive characters in the franchise, I had been initially looking forward to Firefly the most, and it did not disappoint. Jorge Fornes teamed up with colorist Dave Stewart to give us a more emotional and surprisingly reflective take on the lone operative. Think Mission Impossible without the team meets You Were Never Really Here. As a photographer, each panel was rendered more like a snapshot, which I really enjoyed, and that created a lived-in sense of place. And I was really impressed with the amount of sentiment Fornes was able to pack into the character's eyes, capturing the quiet determination of a driven man.
Well, he's really motivated.
And this is the only one of the five where I was left feeling that there was more story to tell. And in fact, give me a Firefly 5-issue series, please, because Fornes nailed this one.
Nailed it.
I truly hope the sales numbers will be strong enough to justify doing lots more of these. Certainly, there are enough characters to explore. And as a whole, both the Joes and the Cobra offerings are much stronger than the Marvel black, white, and fill in the color anthology formatting. Yes, those are just a single character, but it's the comparison that came to mind for me with a bunch of creators thrown into a universe blender to see what gets vomited out.
It's a weird analogy, but yeah.
Baroness drops first, and the rest are rolling out weekly through April, so make sure to check them out on the shelves of your favorite local shop. And in terms of my own personal power rankings, Crimson Guard, Firefly, Baroness, Zartan, and then Copperhead. Peace.